Pollinators are responsible for 1/3 of our food supply, helping produce fruits and seeds. Unfortunately, both wild and farm species are dying, impacting our planet through ecosystem functions and humans through our food chain. Habitat degradation in the form of urbanization threatens pollinator health significantly, reducing availability of nesting sites as well as floral resources. To protect pollinators, conservation of these resources is necessary. Habitat degradation has more than one victim. Reducing our daily access to nature and the more than human world causes biophobia, a fear of nature which creates barriers to meaningful connection. The symptoms of degradation on people can be measured as low ecological literacy. This process creates a positive feedback where reduced habitat leads to conflict between restoration need and human motivation. The result? Challenged conservation organizations. This summer, I interned with Pollinator Pathway Northwest, a nonprofit working to create a regional ecosystem corridor utilizing pollinator gardens, their choice of tool to increase habitat and educate people on ecology. To understand how these spaces help build literacy, I asked the motivating question: how do pollinator gardens relate to the ecological literacy of adult homeowners? To find my answer, I surveyed 70 newsletter readers on measures of ecological literacy using short answer, multiple choice, and Likert scale questions. 15-minute interviews filled my gaps in knowledge and highlighted practical applications into the garden. I assessed all my data using the three areas of literacy: functional literacy, what we know, think natural history skills; cultural literacy, creating cultural cohesion and relating ourselves to nature; and critical literacy, personal analysis and responsibility towards you. I organized my survey data by score: low, medium, and high, as shown on my horizontal or x-axis. Individual responses comprised my data and were organized by experience levels: non-gardeners in our darkest purple and experienced gardeners in our lightest purple. I found that established gardeners comprise a larger portion of the high literacy basket compared to that of low literacy, showing that pollinator gardens help build hands-on education for the three components of literacy. First, pollinator gardens have a greater functional literacy from increased ecological relationships. When asked what comes to mind when you think about pollinators, over a third of gardeners cited the importance of diversity and interspecies relationships. When I talked to interviewees, they discussed the importance of plant diversity and supporting insect diversity. Tracy Hines noted that her hawthorn trees literally bring in thousands of bees in spring. Established gardeners also have a greater cultural literacy in the form of connection to nature. When asked about the importance of nature in society, gardeners cited the need for reconnection via our schools, media, and even neighborhoods. Gardener Klaus promoted the importance of environmental education in actually changing attitudes. He attributes his love of his garden to his adoption of photography and the education provided by Pollinator Pathway. Finally, established gardeners have a greater critical literacy in the form of curiosity and action. On average, established gardeners were more likely to engage in a diverse spectrum of pro-environmental behaviors, such as recycling or dietary changes. Global threats and themes emerged from my data: drought, climate change, pollution, extinction. Lisa A. emphasized that her garden actually empowers her to take action against these threats rather than stand idly by. Pollinator gardens provide a wide range of benefits, but adoption remains low. Social barriers such as HOAs and traditional lawns reinforce disconnection. Pollinator Pathway works to create practice gardens to highlight aesthetic feasibility. Economic barriers are more challenging to address, but not impossible. Planning plant swaps, making lists of native nurseries, and promoting limited input gardens can make conservation more financially viable for your average homeowner. In these 5 minutes, 280 acres of land has been degraded, perpetuating a cycle between restoration need and motivation. But you can all be the change. Make a pledge today through Pollinator Pathway to plant native, eliminate pesticides, and contribute to conservation. Thank you to everyone for being here today, to my site supervisor, Patricia, as well as Bill and Lynn at Pollinator Pathway that were vital to the making of this project, my faculty advisor, Francisca Santana, and my friends and family, particularly my mom, for supporting me not just throughout Capstone, but the entirety of my college experience. Thank you so much. Questions? Yes.
For people that don't have access to organizations like Pollinator Pathway, how can they get involved in like pollinator-friendly gardening?
Great. So the question was, if you don't have access to an organization such as Pollinator Pathway, how can you get involved in pollinator gardening? Was that correct?
Yeah.
Great. So first and foremost, Pollinator Pathway, I love them, obviously. And they do a lot of good for their community. Mostly they provide community and resources, but you don't have to have these resources provided outside of yourself to actually contribute to conservation. So what I first recommend is starting with a basic container gardening, filling things like camas, showweed, even fireweed. Starting with a container garden allows you to build without actually needing open landscaping space. If you don't have access to a native nursery or plants, I also recommend doing a bee house or butterfly house, which provides nesting sites, or a shallow water dish to provide water resources, particularly during the summer when it's really hot. Any other questions? Yes.
What interested you to look specifically into like ecological literacy rather than another like relation to nature?
Great. So the question was, why look into ecological literacy rather than another measure of connection to nature? Is that correct?
Yes.
Amazing. So what I find really powerful about ecological literacy is it doesn't just measure what we know, it also simultaneously measures how we apply it. I found in my work in environmental education and conservation psychology, these things are often separated and told to keep separate. I believe that ecological literacy is a really good way to analyze connection to nature because it considers things like culture and action, which are really important in sustainability. It doesn't just look at environmental factors, it also looks at the social and economic ones.